Hi, everybody. I'm Chicago psychic medium and intuitive consultant Mel Dorr, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited. Linda Grindle is going to be on my YouTube channel this coming Monday, and that would be 10 o'clock Pacific time, noon Central time. And then I'll probably post it. It'll take probably me for an hour to get it posted. So she and I will be answering some of your questions. Linda has become a really good friend, and she's very talented psychic medium, and I'm excited to share the show with her. Boy, there's a lot to talk about. First of all, I ask everyone to please send your thoughts and your prayers to the survivors and the family members and the victims of that horrible condo collapse in Florida. It just, I watched on television, I saw some of the neighbors interviewed, and I cried. I have some friends in Florida, and thank goodness they're okay. But let's all send lots of thoughts and love and prayers to the people in Miami. I do think about this collapse, and I don't know the purpose of it, but I do think it's going to bring about more stringent building codes. I think it's going to bring about all kinds of investigations. They'll determine what happened and why that structural failure happened. So it's just really sad that people have to die because of that catastrophic failure. Oh boy, there's a lot to talk about. Remember when Linda G and I had predicted that Giuliani was going to be in a lot of trouble? Well, I'm sure you've all heard that today his legal license was suspended. And as my husband and I were having dinner, I made some cool salmon. I'll give you the recipe in another video. And I didn't forget the recipe about my freedom burger, by the way. I'll give you that recipe later on too, but not in this show. Anyway, my husband said, Mel, what do you think? Do you think ultimately Giuliani will be disbarred? And I quickly asked my guides. When I ask my guides, I don't do it out loud. I do it telepathically and mentally. And the answer came back as, yes, he will be disbarred. You know, my guides had told me, and I've said this before on my channel, that the truth is starting to come out. The light forces are pushing back the dark forces. It's kind of, so this is the beginning of all the truth coming out. I think his license was disbarred for like knowingly making false statements about the elections. And then I saw Rudy on TV today, and he really should shut his mouth. You know, he should be like very quiet right now, because every time he talks, puts his foot in his mouth. Kind of like Cheeto Head, don't you think? Anyway, I still see Rudy under indictment. I still see him going to jail on numerous charges and accounts. And if I were Rudy, I'd be really nervous right now. You know, I don't think he's a dumb man. I think he's shrewd. But don't you think that he'd kind of get it? Rudy, you drank the Kool-Aid. Hope you like the taste of it, because you're going to be wishing you didn't drink it when you go to jail. The bipartisan bill, finally, for infrastructure got passed. You know, I understand there's going to be two tracks. So one, you know, it's going to go through. And then two, I think something with reconciliation, they'll get the other part of it through. And, you know, as per usual, you know, Moscow Mitch, I think is going to try to pull a couple Republicans off that bill. But if he does that, I still see the bill going through and being passed under reconciliation. But Mitch McConnell wouldn't agree with the Democrats even if the Dems agreed to give Mitch McConnell the keys to Fort Knox. You know, but this is the beginning of the end for Mitch. Because I think people are starting to say, wait a minute, this obstructionism is really harmful. And I think that a lot of some of the Republicans are saying they want to get reelected. And in order to do that, they can no longer back the Trumplicans or Mitch McConnell. You know, somebody asked Claudia Altamirano, and the question was, our friend Mitch McConnell's ex-wife Cheryl Redmond is a progressive activist in Kentucky. You go, Cheryl. Love you, girl. And is writing a book. Yay. And she says, would this affect Mitch? Well, it's going to affect him. It's going to affect me a lot because my blood pressure's high. I'm already worried about things she's going to say. And I just might file a lawsuit, just like Trump did, to get that book from being published. Mitch, poetic justice, Mitchell. And I'm going to read this other comment that Mitch made today. I screenshotted it, which really, I was like, whoa. Let me find it here real quick. Here we go. Mitch said about this whole infrastructure deal, he says, it was a tale of two press conferences. Biden endorsed the agreement one breath and then threatened to veto it in the next. It almost makes your head spin. An expression of bipartisanship and then an ultimatum on behalf of your left-wing base. Mitch, you make everybody's head spin. I mean, Mitch, you make them throw up pea soup or something. It's like a scene from The Exorcist. Mitch, the only head spinning is yours because you're losing control. It's funny, my guide showed me this pole, you know, and Mitch was holding on to it and he thought he had control. And all of a sudden he starts sliding down it. No matter how much he tried to get up that pole, he couldn't get up it. I think because the Democrats greased it's what I think. So Mitch, get over it. I mean, he's going to try. He's got something up his sleeve. He's going to try to pull some shenanigans, but I think Biden's already aware of that. So I'm glad this infrastructure is going through because we need the bridges. We need the charging stations for electric cars. We need the roads. We need stricter building codes so things like in Florida won't happen. You know, our infrastructure is crumbling. So, you know, I can see everybody getting access to internet, good cell phone coverage, all of the above. And while I'm on the subject of electric cars, I'm seeing tax breaks coming from the federal government for people who buy electric cars. So, yay. Anyway, so that's good news. The other thing that Mitch pulled was, you know, for the voting rights bill, he voted or had the Senate vote not to debate the voting rights bill. It doesn't mean it's dead. Well, the opera ain't over until the star sings. And so I see another voting rights bill somehow or another getting to the Senate. And even if it doesn't get through the Senate, as my guides have told me before, then it'll go to the courts, and the courts will say, you cannot restrict people's rights to vote. You can't do it. So for all those southern states, thank you, Texas, Governor Abbott, who's got some really draconian laws about voter suppression, it's not going to hold up. So I think all of us, once again, need to get our voices and speak up and say, we will not tolerate this. Call your congressperson, whether they're Democrat or Republican, call your senator's office. If you have to, you know, scream, stomp, and yell, get proactive about it because they cannot rob us of our right to vote. That's our constitutional right. Oh, Nancy Pelosi. Uh, my guides had told me that even if when the Senate decided under Mitch, because Mitch doesn't want to lose the midterms, he wants to get his power back. Mitch, give it up. um, that she is going to have a House committee to investigate the insurrection on January the 6th. And I see a lot of strict sentences coming for those who actively hurt others and destroyed federal property and who actively engage in that demonstration. Uh, I think that a lot of those insurrectionists will flip in lieu of lighter sentences. So we'll see how that comes out. I think the Democrats are finally getting tough. Yay, it's about time, Dems. Okay, Weiselberg. I know it's Weiselberg, but I call him Weaselberg because he's such a weasel. My guide showed me that there's a table, and Weaselberg is sitting there, and Cheeto Head is sitting at the table, and it's a glass table, and there's this hand handing money to Weaselberg under the table, but no words are being spoken. So my take on that is that, the Trump organization is sliding money to Weaselberg for Weaselberg not to flip, but somebody's going to come forward and say that saw through the glass table and say that there's been some payola going on. I still see indictments coming for Donald Trump, both from the state of New York. I do think that Weaselberg hasn't flipped yet, but when they start looking at him, his family, things like that, I think he'll sing. It's not looking pretty for Donald. I still don't see Donald in jail, and my guides tell me that he really, 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 really has to watch his health. So we'll see about that. Anyway, I heard there's a newspaper in Hong Kong called the Apple Daily, and it was about pro-democracy, and the people that ran that newspaper were arrested, and it was shut down, and the people in Hong Kong protested. And so I think the Chinese government in Hong Kong has seriously underestimated what closing that paper is going to do, because people are going to stand up. There were 100 protesters, but it's going to grow huge. And, by shutting that paper down, because it was pro-democracy, I think the Chinese government didn't really realize that they're going to fuel the flames of democracy. And my guides show me that paper will be printed somewhere else, and distributed in Hong Kong. So people are going to be protesting. There's another thing I want to touch on, and I'm going to read something that somebody sent, and I'll answer some of your questions. And excuse me for looking down, but I'm screenshotted this, so I'll be reading it. Somebody wrote, how will the Catholic Church fare after threatening President Biden with excommunication? I don't think they threatened to excommunicate him. They just said he couldn't take communion. One of my friends, Linda, not Linda Grendel, but my other friend Linda, lost her son to suicide, and she's Catholic. And she's written a wonderful book. And so if anybody out there that's a family member or yourselves, and you're depressed and you're thinking suicide, call my office, 847-590-5411, and I'll send you a copy of her book free of charge. She's saving a lot of people's lives. But anyway, Linda's a dear friend, she and her husband, Tom, of mine. And I had a conversation with her, and I said, because the church doesn't let gay people adopt, and they don't do this and they don't do that, I really didn't want to go to church and take communion anymore, because I didn't agree with what the church said. And she said something to me. She said, Mel, don't let anybody keep you away from taking communion. Don't let anybody keep you away from that. Don't even let the church do that. And I said, thank you. So they're trying to restrict Biden from taking communion because of his view on abortion. I say let the church run the church and let the state run the state, and the church should keep its nose out of politics, is what I say. You know, if you believe in creation, I'm not going to get in creation versus evolution argument. You have to believe that God made everybody. If you believe in creation and everything. So God made us gay people too. It's not choice. God, you know, if you believe in creation, God made us. So how could God have screwed up? So I think for any church of any denomination to say it's wrong for us to be able to get married to the person we love, or to take communion, or to be not have equal rights, or to be chastised and ridiculed, whether we're LGBTQ, even transgendered people, how the church treats them is horrific. I have a real problem with that. And so I'm going to go to church and wear my gay flag, my little gay pin, and let's see what happens. You know, I think some of the bishops, even where I think Biden goes to church, had said that Biden's welcome to take communion there. Thank goodness for that bishop. So I think at some point the church will go through reform. I see a third Vatican Council coming in my lifetime. And I think the church at some point will open up in its view on, you know, gays and a lot of things. So anyway, I don't think this church should be able to tell the president he can't take communion. I'm going to read this from somebody. It's called Celestial Light Worker, and I think it's really neat. So I'm going to read it to you. It says, as a Catholic, these churches are part of the age-old problem, sometimes of corruption, power, and money. While our Native people in Canada were treated inhumanely, unfortunately, they weren't the only ones. My grandmother was orphaned around 4 years of age. There was no family to take her, so she was put into an orphanage run by Catholic nuns. A 4-year-old traumatized by overwhelming loss of everything she knew. My heart ached when my mother relayed her story. Of course, she had had bad dreams and she wet the bed. Because of that, let's see, they would put this traumatized 4-year-old in a dark closet, close and lock the door, threatening her, threatening her to be quiet for an extra dose of cruelty. They made her stand in a bucket of ice cold water up to her knees in that dark closet. Wow. She says, so I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore. That finally stopped when my boys were small. We were called to the religion class because our boys did something outlandish. They asked the question, best person you can be, the rest no longer matters. I think the church will have less influence in the future, and don't get me wrong, there are some good people in the church. I have a cousin who's a very good person and is a priest, but I no longer believe one has to go to church to get into heaven or wherever. It's a choice. It doesn't mean anyone is better than anybody else. Just look at some of the super churches of the US. Yep, I need a fancy house, 3 planes, but oh yeah, sorry, we can't support our followers by providing financial support. What's wrong with that picture? Seems to all go back to money and power, and all those institutions are trying desperately to retain theirs. The despicable threat to Biden is a pure power play. Do this our way or else. Time to stop playing that game, or they should all be forced to pay taxes. But they'll get quiet in a heartbeat. If they have to do that. Love and light and best wishes to all. Every individual on this earth is important. Oops, sorry, had to ditch that old energy. Now I feel much better. Thanks for giving me the space to vent. Thank you for sharing that, Celestial Light Worker. I am a Catholic. I don't have to agree with all the doctrines of the church, but I will go to Mass if I so desire, and I will take communion. And if the priest doesn't give it to me, I'll find a church that will. It doesn't mean that the whole entire church is bad. It just means as a Catholic, I need to stand up. I need to write letters, which I've begun doing, and have my voice heard to say, wait a minute, we are people too. And the church does not get to belittle us, deny us communion, or treat us subhuman because of what God made us. Um, you know, I think as whatever religion we are, we should see the God light in everybody. Um, I don't think Jesus really cared about anybody's sexuality. Now, people quote the Old Testament, but there's really nothing in the New Testament about uh, a gay. There just isn't. And if anybody out there says it is, I've read the Bible from cover to cover. I did catechism for 2 years. I went through confirmation for 2 years. So I'll get in that discussion with you. But, my friend Beverly Kirby, she's a wonderful psychic medium. Her mom, Arlene, I called her Mom Kirby, said, Jesus had tent in his room for everybody. And that's how I live my life. Like, there's room in Jesus, God's tent for everybody. And so who are we to say who's allowed in that tent and who isn't? So whoever wrote this, thank you so, so much. I'll tell you a funny story about me. I used to go to a place in Kentucky. It was, I won't list the name of it, but it was an abbey. It was a semi-cloistered monastery. And rumor had it that the abbot, the prior, he's the guy that runs the joint, was gay. And so one time there was a seminary next door, and I would go visit my friends that were studying to be priest. So one day, one of the brothers came out and they said, Father Prior wants to see you in his office. I thought, oh God, what did I do now? So I went to his office and he said, would you like a drink? And I said, a drink? He said, yeah, make yourself comfortable. Would you like a drink? And it was really hot that day. And I said, well, yeah, I like some water, thank you. I played dumb. And he looked at me and he said, I called you in my office because what would you do if I told you that I loved you? And I thought, oh no. So real quick, I came back with, well, I'd say I love you too in Christian love and brotherhood. And he says, I don't think you understand. I want to hug you. And I said, oh, I understand quite well what you're doing. And if you put one hand on me, I will call the bishop. He said, but you're gay. I said, you're right, I am. But I don't come here to be abused by you. I don't come here to screw. I come here with my friends to visit with my friends who are in the seminary, and I come here to pray. So how dare you use your power to try to force me into something with you? So I got up and I walked out, and he tried to hug me. And I looked at him, I said, if you touch me again, I'm gonna smack you. And I'm not violent, but right then and there, I kept my power. And right then and there, I kept my truth. Because my whole life, I had been bullied. I had been called sissy, faggot, queer, and I lived in fear. I hated to go to school because I was beat up all the time. And right then and there, I got my power back. And I told him, I will call the bishop. I didn't. But then he started walking down the aisle, tried to hug me again. And I said, I'm telling you, if you do that, and I said it really loud, I said, there's going to be big problems. So after that, he would see me walking, he'd just walk the other way. So, just because that happened to me, it doesn't make all priests bad. It doesn't make all Catholics bad. Not all Republicans are bad people. I think we just need to call out injustices when we see them. So thank you very much for sharing that story. All right. I do want to get to some of your questions. So let's see what we got here. Give me a second. Okay. So Martha Spillman asks, I'm outraged that our secret ballot has been given to cyber ninjas. Will there be any class action lawsuits? And the answer to that is yes. The Department of Justice has already instructed the state of Arizona and the cyber ninjas what they are doing is illegal. And I can tell you right now, wherever they took those ballots, I forget where it was, they're tampering with them. They really are tampering with them. And they're doing it in order to promote the big lie. Well, it's not going to go anywhere. I see that there's going to be people, if they don't comply with federal law, because it's against the law to tamper with any ballots or to do what they're doing, then there's going to be subpoenas, there's going to be indictments, and people are going to get arrested. And yes, there will be civil suits, and there's going to be criminal indictments as well. So that was a very good question, Martha. Thank you. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. Valeria Woodford asked, what is the fate of Ronna Romney McDaniel, the Republican National Committee president for the Republican Party? She's being investigated for misused funds. She's a Trumpster and she's the niece of Mitt Romney. I've never thought about that, but you know, I'm asking my guys and they're telling me they will find, I don't know if we want to call it fraud, but she will be found guilty of misuse of funds. She'll get smacked on the wrist, but it'll at least send the message that, you know, people can't get by with stuff like that. Okay. Carol Bastian writes, it's being rumored that there are energetic medical therapy devices being developed that can use light and wave energies to heal all kinds of disease. Is there something in the ethos that makes way for this? I really don't know about it, but I'm sure if they can use sound waves to make us ill, then at some point they can use sound waves for healing. You know, think about ultrasound technology. They can use sound waves to see inside of us. So I'm sure that they can try to use it for other types of healing modalities. I think they do in physical therapy, if I'm not mistaken. So the short answer is, I do think things are being tested. All right. Mary Ann D asked, the money that was raised for charities on The Apprentice, did they ever get it, or did Trump scam that too? No, I think that money was pretty well scrutinized, and you know, it went for where it was supposed to go. So I don't, you know, but Trump did get money for appearing on The Apprentice, but I don't think he took any of the charity money. Okay, Laura Robidoux or Robidoux, if I'm mispronouncing the last name, I'm sorry, I don't speak French. It said, Paul Ryan retired early when 45 step was hitting the fan. Will he be involved with any 45 crimes? And I'm going to say the answer to that is no. My guides tell me no. He got out just in time. I guess, you know, he knew when to resign, right? Okay. Claudia Altamarino, I'm sorry, I've already answered hers. I'm just going down the list here. Oh, this is a good one. Nanette Hodge, when will so-called outlets, in other words, Fox News, be restricted from broadcasting lies? What I see is a lot of lawsuits filed against them for lying. And I don't know if it's under slander or whatever. And when there's gets to be so many, pretty soon they'll get it. I think once Rupert Murdoch bites the dust, you know, I think one of his sons is pretty moderate. I think one's more of a Democrat. I think the license to lie will then stop. So, you know, Fox News will always play to, you know, Trump's base, at least, you know, 30, you know, at least 60% of us aren't Trumpsters. But I think within the next 5 years, there's going to be some reckoning in Fox News. I mean, I can see that, whoa, there's going to be tons of lawsuits. And then Fox will try to, you know, settle them out of court, but then at some point they're going to have to pay up. I just wonder if they'll claim bankruptcy. I'll have to think about that one. They probably would to keep from paying. Okay. All right. I think, Tabby's mom. I can't read my own writing. Will the Democrats ever use any muscle to get things done? It seems they are not using their power. That's a really good point, but I think what happened today, and when Nancy Pelosi spoke up, I think the Democrats are finally manning up and saying, we are going to use our power, and we don't care about the obstructionism about Mitch McConnell, because, you know, he's going to obstruct everything. He ain't going to bring anything that Biden wants or any Democrat wants. You know, it kind of looks like King Kong. That's an insult to King Kong. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mitch. he needs a facelift big time. He's got enough skin to wrap around the earth 3 times on that chin of his. I got a turkey chin, but honey, his is hanging pretty low. It's about the only thing that hangs low. He lacks another certain part of the anatomy I won't discuss. Anyway, so they are really starting to man up. Yay. Um, well, the gentleman Jeff Seitz, this is from Thornton. Well, the gentleman running against Jeff Seitz, I'm sorry. Well, the gentleman Jeff Seitz running against Jim Jordan beat him for his Ohio Senate seat. You know, I don't know. But what I will do is circle this question, and we'll bring it back up on Monday when I talk to Linda G, because I just haven't looked into it, but I will. All right. Okay. Sister of Six. It's rumored that the Delta variant is affecting many children overseas. Well, we see this happening in the US. My guides tell me that the Delta variant is here, but my guides also tell me that the FDA will approve the vaccine for children. And so those kids that get vaccinated then would be somewhat immune to the Delta variant. And if they get it, they wouldn't get it as bad, it wouldn't be fatal, and they would stay out of the hospital. Because that Delta variant is highly contagious. I do think that the shots we've taken will protect us against it, or will keep us from getting it. Well, if we do get it, the Delta variant, it won't be as severe, and it'll just lessen symptoms. So, but I do see science is going to be on top of how the virus will mutate, and then we'll just get a booster shot like every year. So, you know, here again, you don't have to be afraid of the vaccine. It's not going to rewire your RNA, your DNA. It's not going to, you know, cause any. I mean, some people will have an allergic reaction, but for the most part, it's a safe vaccine. Okay. All right, here, is 5D a real thing? And will good people really be taken off the planet before their natural death? If so, where would they be taken to? I've heard so many spiritual people talking about this, and it honestly doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I really don't know that much about it, but I just don't see everybody physically ascending to another place. I think it's more of a state. I think it's more of a state of mind. I think that, at least the way I look at it, it doesn't make much sense to me either. So I don't think. Now, some might think it's a physical ascension. I don't feel that. I think it's more state of mind. All right. Sherry H., with over 500 cases heading to the court over the terrorist attack on the Capitol, well, those at the top, Romp, I love that, Romp, Stone, Cruz, etc., have charges filed against them too. You know, I do see that, well, here's what bothers me. You know, the big lie that Trump is saying this election was rigged and Biden didn't win. Oh, really, Donald? How about 2016 when you colluded with the Russians? And there's going to be more coming out on the Mueller report about that. Don't kid yourselves, because the DOJ is going to be looking into that too. And so, so it's just hypocrisy. It's total hypocrisy for people like Trump to say the election was rigged when his people colluded with the Russians, and that's all going to come to the forefront. You ain't seen nothing yet. So, you know, Stone's not out of the woods either. They've got goods on him, and he is going to end up going to jail. Ted Cruz, you know, he's going to be a has-been really soon. He needs a shave. Like I said, it looks like he's got a dead cat on his face. What's that about, all that facial fuzz? Some people can wear a beard, but he ain't one of them. Judy Chandler. People say they don't see the menace being locked up. Geez, I wonder who she could be talking about. Could it be because he will be admitted to a psych ward? Oh, honey, a psych ward doesn't want him. I don't think he's crazy. I think he's sociopathic. And he'll lie, he'll cheat, he'll steal, he'll do anything to retain power. I just never see him going to jail, even though I see him under indictment. So I don't wish him harm, but I'm having a hard time seeing a long life for him. So I keep saying, my guides keep telling me he's really got to watch his health. All right. So this question's from Chai 6868. Um, are the GOP something and others around the world with money funding these voting rights law changes to so that some of the people in the GOP can keep their power in order to protect the assets of the wealthy? And the answer to that is resoundingly yes. Look at what the Koch brothers funds. Look how progressive Wisconsin used to be. And then under one governorship and the Koch brothers' influence, how it changed. But I see Wisconsin becoming blue again, and I see it becoming progressive. So, yay, remember when? And I see a lot of red states turning purple or even going blue at some point. People are going to say they've had it. Trump's base will be Trump's base. It's funny. Like after Hitler fell to power, there were a lot of people who wouldn't come out publicly and say that they supported him. And so the truth is just going to keep ringing true about all the crap that Trump did. And, a lot of people who supported him won't come out publicly and say they supported him. But, Trump, ultimately, the Trumpsters and the Trumplicans and all these fascism bigots, they will not win. In fact, at some point, somebody asked about QAnon, and that's a far right organization who loves conspiracy theories. Guess what? That's going to go by the wayside. People are just going to get tired of all the conspiracy stuff. I think we will get our common sense back. I mean, come on, anybody with half a brain wouldn't even think what Marjorie Taylor Greene said, that we're being vibrated or shooting ray guns from us from outer space. Give me a break. That's just good science fiction, but it's just crock of bull hockey. All right. So Carolyn Marquez asked, what is the future of the Catholic religion? As a Catholic, I'm very disappointed. Recent activities from their views on wanting to keep Biden from taking communion, plus their view on gay people. I'm disappointed and I'm sad. But again, as the Catholic, I will speak up. And I am writing letters to the Archbishop here. And I've talked to a priest friend of mine about how do I get a letter sent to the Pope. I don't know if he'll get it or not, but we shall see. I do have a papal blessing from John Paul II from my work on missing children. So I don't know if that'll give me any clout. I doubt it. But anyway. Okay, Paula Fuller. I would like to know if Mike Pompeo will face justice and when. I got a funny feeling they are going to be questioning him behind closed doors. But a lot of the problem with that is because some of the stuff he did was secret. And it's kind of, they can't release top secret stuff to the public. So, I see him, I don't see him in jail, but I do see some sort of sanction against him for some of the crap he pulled. All right. MC asks, will humanitarian equality be recognized? It breaks my soul to see people living in the streets and on riverbeds. Will mental health be funded to support the needs of the homeless? I have been an advocate for mental health rights for years. And when they closed a lot of the mental hospitals, they just closed them. A lot of those long-term residents had nowhere to go, so they became homeless. So at some point, I do see a group of people getting together and starting to say, wait, we really need to look at the plight of the mentally ill in this country and the homeless, and what can we do about it? So I see systems being put in place to help the mentally ill, so that they don't have to live on the streets, and to help the homeless, because some of them aren't mentally ill. They just, for some reason, they have physical illness, this and that, and they have nowhere to live, which is not acceptable in a country as rich as America. So I do see some laws being passed and government programs, a lot more money being put into that to help these people. All right, Donna O'Brien. Oh, good. This is a good question, Donna. Uh, well, will we have to do another lockdown? Meaning, will there be a variant that the current vaccine doesn't protect us from? So we'll have to go into lockdown and what is made. I don't see any more lockdowns, thank goodness. As I said earlier in this video, I think with the vaccines we have, that'll protect us. But I think that, you know, our scientists are going to kind of be on top of any future variants, and then, you know, how to cut and paste and give us booster shots from to protect us against those variants. I do think that, though, that COVID is a warning, and it is that we've got to stop tearing down our tropical rainforests, and we've got to stop destroying the planet, because there might be a virus in one of those rainforests that has been, you know, evolving for thousands of years. And if it got into humans, it could be really, really devastating. I'm sure there are viruses in those places that can make, you know, Ebola look like a gentle wind. So, you know, a lot of scientists have cautioned that we really need to be careful. See the movie Outbreak. It's a pretty good harbinger of what can come. So we've got to stop destroying the planet. All right. So, hi, Doreen. Doreen is asking, now that we are ascending to the fourth density, are we literally leaving people behind that we know? Or will those individuals rise out of their lives and not be in our circle due to the higher fourth density frequency? Here again, I don't think it's like a physical thing. I think it's more mental, you know? You know, I have a problem with saying that, you know, because people are the fifth dimension or fourth dimension or whatever dimension, or the ascension, that we're better than other people who aren't. Mm-mm. We're all equal. And that's part of the mental thing of the ascension, is that we're all equal. And so we can't think that we're here and other people are here. Mm-mm. Not. So I don't think it's physical. I think it's more attitude. I think it's more of our actions and things like that. It just, you know, you all can believe the way you want. That's just how I believe. Okay. Here, my daughter is literally ascending to the fifth dimension according to her angel. She's having a difficult time and is becoming sensitive to the point of being psychic and able to communicate with her angels and guides. She feels she can write off most of her loved ones, and I've told her that's a choice within her power to make, and that others can benefit from her. Here again, at the risk of being redundant, okay, ascending is not about writing off other people or kicking them out of our lives, even if they believe differently than we do. I might not agree with your opinion, but it doesn't mean that I can sit in judgment on you. So ascension doesn't give us the right to be judgmental. We have to keep the judgment out of it. You know, we're put here to help other people, and we're put here to help other people recognize their full potential. So by keeping people out because we think we're better, it's just not cool to me. That doesn't fly. All right. All right. Let me see here. Okay. It says, I don't know if okay. All right, I've already asked that. Let me take a look here. I apologize. I think probably, did I do these? I'm talking to myself. Here we go. Okay. Just give me a second, I'm looking. Okay, I've answered as many as I can for today. Hope I didn't thoroughly bore you. So a lot is happening. And see what starts to happen when the truth comes out, like in government, and we have a president who acts presidential. I'll warn other countries on the planet that It can happen to you too. People thought this would never happen in America, and look where we are. We're fighting a battle for our very democracy, and we have to keep fighting that battle. Uh, the Trumplicans will say they're fighting a battle for democracy. No, they're fighting a battle for authoritarianism, bigotry, racism, and control. People elected to government, in my opinion, should work on policy and governing and being a government for everybody, not about hanging on to power. At any rate, sorry about my rambling. Everybody stay well. It's been my pleasure. And I'll be back soon. And I'm looking so much forward to being with Linda on Monday. I've got a lot more questions. These are just a few, but we'll get to as many as we can. Thank you. And here again, when I get to 11,000 subscribers, I will give another free half-hour session. When I get to 12,000, I'll do another free half-hour session. And so thank you for your support. Everyone stay well, and please send your thoughts and prayers to those people in Florida. Please send thoughts and prayers and healing and rain energy to the people in Arizona, California, who are suffering this horrible drought. It's been so rainy here in Chicago and the surrounding areas. They're talking about flash floods, so maybe we can send some of our rain their way. So here again, let our voices be heard. Stay well, be safe. Namaste.